getting yourself together. Let's get ourselves positioned in here a little bit better. Let me move some things around as YouTube begins to let people know that I'm here. Y'all know I got to push my pillows back just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I hope you guys can hear me as everybody starts to come on. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Let me just tell you guys, today is going to be rough, rough, rough. So we're like in day 3 of this heat dome, and I ran out on, was it Monday? And I have been sick, battling just some stomach issues because I really hadn't eaten. My mom called me probably around 10 o'clock on Monday morning and told me that her prescriptions were ready. They're normally not ready until, the 26th, 27th of the month. And she was completely out. So we don't know what happened. And so I had to leave and stop what I was doing in order to go get her prescriptions. And I ran out in that heat. And the heat, this kind of heat, people are getting sick. Some people have passed away. This kind of heat is no joke. This kind of heat is serious. So if you have to go to work, if you have to go out and run errands, make sure that you're staying properly hydrated. Make sure that you are staying mostly in a cool environment if you can, and just make sure that you're taking care of your overall health, right? So I'm running out, running out, running out, and I'm not realizing that I really hadn't eaten enough. And so on an empty stomach, hello, Miss Miller, how are you? Good morning, happy Wednesday. I hope you're staying fine and well in this heat dome if you're near it. I ran out, like I said, Monday morning, wound up getting sick. Been sick ever since, battling some stomach issues. I'm feeling a little bit better, but this heat is serious. If you run out on an empty stomach and you don't take care of yourself, guess what? You're going to go down for a minute. Thank you so much for the likes. Thank you guys so much for the likes. Thank you for hopping on this morning. I said I'd be back on Wednesday, and here we are. This is what we're going to talk about: caregiving, some of the red flags, some of the things that we sometimes don't really pick up on when we're giving care or need to provide services for people. And then we're going to talk about home safety, because that's also important too. As I had mentioned, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Guys, tap the screen and let me know that you're here. Drop a comment and let me know that you're here as well. I wish you good morning to everyone. And so, running out in this heat dome, I've been sick since Monday. I've been down. I've been trying to just get my life together because, my goodness, this heat will take you out. So even though I ran out, I thought I was properly hydrated. I hadn't eaten anything, and I wind up getting real, real sick. And so this is the first day. Good morning. Hello to you, Gopal. This is the first day that I'm feeling like myself. And I ran out to go get my mom's prescriptions because obviously what we talk about is caregiving, right? And so I ran out to get her prescriptions. I just thought I'd run out for a minute and then get right back in the house, because by the time I ran out, it was already probably, I don't know, 90 something degrees. I think it was 92 when I ran out. And my goodness, it really, 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 it was overwhelming. And it was that kind of heat. When you walk out, you walk into heat. Okay. Good morning to everyone. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. But we're going to make it through. And those of you guys who are on the East Coast and you are running out in this heat, please stay hydrated. Please stay hydrated, because you will go out in this mess and get sick. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. You know what? For a caregiver, compassion is your superpower. You think you're not a superhuman? You are. Compassion is your superpower. Feeling the need to help someone else, seeing someone else and struggling and they got different issues going on and you're there for them, that's your superpower. You are truly someone who's gifted because you are allowing yourself to use empathy and to feel the pain from someone else and what they're going through and to help them. Compassion is your superpower. And so thank you for sharing it selflessly, I should say, with people who need it. And so this right here is something that touches all of us. As I've said in my lives before, all of us are caregivers to an extent. If you're a parent, you are a caregiver. If you feel like you want to, let me start off, we're going to start off this morning with someone who already wants to come on with negativity, and that's not what this is about. Okay, so just a warning. Good morning to everyone. I will block you and put you in timeout if that's what you require. So that way we can have open, honest dialogue about what's going on in our world. So most of us, if you're a parent, you're a caregiver. If you are a caregiver by profession, that's something that you obviously, hopefully have a desire to do. You're empathetic to the needs of others. And if you are like me, then you are a caregiver because you love someone, right? I love my mom. I loved my dad. And so because of seeing what she's going through, I've opted to be her caregiver. Good morning. Happy Wednesday to everyone who's hopping on. Thank you for joining me this Wednesday morning. I know a lot of you got to go to work. A lot of you, like myself, work full time. And so we carry a load of responsibility. So here's some things that we look out for as caregivers. Sometimes there are red flags when we see people in need. When we see that someone needs to have care giving services, we don't ignore those red flags. Well, let me put it like this. I ignored those red flags when I saw it with my dad. My dad's health was declining, and I didn't realize it until it was too late. He was well into his declining health before any of us really picked up on it. And the reason why is because my dad was an alpha male. I'm gonna be honest with you. Any of you guys who are old school, you know what that means. He was a man's man, right? My dad didn't play. He held it down and he hustled. That man worked like no one's business, right? And held it down to provide for his family. So he never really asked for help. He never really let us know that he was in need. And so, what that did, when you have someone who's so strong, you're used to them being so strong and independent, you may not notice the red flags that they're kicking off when they themselves start to need care. So he started having problems with his eyesight, right? He started having problems with his breathing, right? And then he was going to doctor after doctor after doctor. And then my dad just started having really bad health problems. And so when you come and encounter someone like that, who you don't see those red flags, and even though you're asking him, what's the matter? Hello again, Belinda. How are you? Blessings to you and have a wonderful day, and blessings to your family too. Thank you for hopping on. Y'all know your girl gonna be on here for like 30 minutes, right? And then I'm gonna hop onto another social media platform and do that before I start working. Fortunately, my mom's schedule is she don't wake up until a little bit later. So I use this time to kind of start my day off and then prep myself for work. And since the kids are out of school, guess what? I got a couple hours that I can just have some me time. And I look forward to these moments because if you're a caregiver, you know that that's important too. And so, yeah, Amir, he did. He did. Anybody looking at Amir's comments, it's exactly what happened. My dad loved us and he didn't want us to know. We came to find out later, and this was something that we did not know until after my dad passed away because it was suddenly. Good morning, happy Wednesday to everyone. Um, I literally found out that the week before my dad died, he was calling all of his close friends and encouraging them, and it was so touching when people started coming in and saying, that's funny. Your dad called me the other day and told me, whatever goals I got, keep moving. I know you feel bad, live life to the fullest. This is what my dad was doing. Can you believe it? We had no idea. And thank you so much. You clock in a little bit of time with me, Belinda. Thank you guys all for joining me this happy Wednesday. And so we didn't see the red flags. And so I think that hurt us more than anything because apparently other people knew. Other people saw it. And yet when we would ask him, you want me to take you to the doctor's appointment, Dad? You want me to do the grocery shopping? You want me to? He was like, no, I got it. My dad used to always say, and my mom will attest to this, I got to keep going because I got to take care of your mom. And it was like, okay, well, he must be fine. But we didn't notice. So some things that we actually didn't notice, I wrote some things down. I'm going to share it with you. If you are seeing these signs in other people and you notice that their health is declining, in addition to this, right? Here are some things that I view as red flags that you might want to pay attention to and ask that person specifically what kind of help they need. So if you notice that they're withdrawing from social activities, so my dad, who's usually an extrovert, right? He was usually very outgoing. My dad loved to have fun with people. He would make sure that the backyard was done and manicured because he liked to have people over. They liked to entertain. My parents loved to entertain when they were younger. And so when we saw that things were being neglected, when things weren't getting done, good morning to everyone. Bren, everyone who jumped on. Thank you so much for joining me this Wednesday. So when I saw that things were not getting done in the house, and I would ask, Dad, you need help with that? Dad, you want me to make some phone calls for you? What can I do in order to help you maintain the house, make sure that, your health is okay? He said, Eric, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll take care of it, right? Don't you worry. I'll take care of it. And so it wasn't until later that we realized that things weren't getting taken care of. And by that time, he was well into declining health. And then he had started pulling back from people. Instead of going out, instead of having people over, my dad just started to withdraw socially, right? He went from an extrovert to an introvert. Now, he would talk to you if you called him. But other than that, he didn't have the stamina to go out anymore. So those are things we felt like, well, maybe he's home because he's trying to take care of my mom. Well, that wasn't the case. His health was also declining as well. Another thing, good morning, good morning, good morning, Lifted. Thank you for joining. Thank you guys for joining me this Wednesday morning. Like I said, this one is a little tough for me because I went out in that heat. And if you're on the East Coast, we are under a heat dome, extreme heat warning. And I wound up getting sick on Monday, but I got to keep on moving because you know what? I got things to do and people to take care of. How about that? So that's how I motivate myself to keep on going. Another thing, my dad also had a lot of hobbies. So my dad would play the saxophone, right? He played the saxophone and he took classes to play the saxophone. Now, whether or not he was able to get up and perform in front of a group of people, we ain't gonna talk about that, right? But he loved to play the saxophone. He had several different types of saxophones, and we'd hear him constantly practicing, constantly playing tunes, right? And so what happened, his breathing got so bad he wasn't able to play. And so we would ask, what's going on with your breathing? Do you need help? Have you been to the doctor? And he'd say, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just, can't hold my breath like I used to. Because you need that breath control in order to, be able to hold the whatever you're doing with the saxophone, whether to play the key, play the notes or whatever. And so he couldn't do that. Hi to you, Tiara. I don't know if I said hi to you. I'm so sorry. Good morning. Happy Wednesday to everyone. I hope you guys are going to have a wonderful Wednesday. I hope so. Because you know what? This is hump day. This is officially we halfway through the week and we got a lot going on. So if you've noticed not only the withdrawing from social activities, if you've noticed the lack of interest in their hobbies and things that they used to enjoy, those are signs that there's some decline in health, especially if you are with someone who's older. Yeah, my dad accomplished a lot in his life, Belinda. He really was. I think what broke me and my mom down, and my kids as well, more than anything, was when we started getting the messages from his friends. And they were like, 2 days before he died, your dad just called me. He just called me and told me to keep moving. Okay, so Bren, to blow into the reed on the sax takes much. Yes. So he was having problems breathing, right? He was wheezing all the time. My mom was telling him, babe, go get your lung check. Go find out what's going on, right? You can't hardly talk. He was always out of breath. And so at first we thought it was COVID, right? Because this all happened during the pandemic or around once the pandemic started. But he was clear from that. And so we found out there were other health issues that he sincerely just wasn't telling us about. And so this was one of the things. This is how he got away from it. So when my mom was mobile, they would go to their doctor's appointments together. So they had the same PCP. They would definitely make sure that they had, like, she was a question person. Well, what's this? Well, what are we taking? Well, what are you giving my husband, right? So that's how it is. His mind was young, but his body was otherwise. You're right, Belinda. Right. And my dad used to tell me that in my mind, I'm still 18, but my body is telling me something else. Right. And so now as I get older, I understand that. I understand a little bit more than I'd like to. And so what happened was when she became immobile, my dad and her couldn't go to their doctor's appointments together. And even though I would ask him, do you need me to take you? Is there something going on? Do you need assistance? He never really got into it. Eric, I'm fine. I'm fine. Look, I don't need your help. I took care of you, right? And so we found out later that there were a lot of other health issues that were going on that he just wasn't telling us. He wasn't telling us. And then we have a tendency sometimes to be focused on one individual. Like I had said before in one of my lives or another one of my videos, my mom's health had really, really declined. And a week before my dad died, he literally had, okay, Penny, thank you so much for your thoughts. I really appreciate it. But we're going to just stay focused on caregiving, okay? And so my dad's health had declined. And so we were so focused on my mom's health. A week before my dad passed away, I was rushing from work to get her, to run her to the emergency room, right, and get her care. We were there all day while they helped her because she felt sick. She didn't want to take the ambulance. So we had to get her care. And then a week later, we wound up losing him. So, yeah, they don't want to burden you, Belinda. That's true. They don't want to tell you what's really going on. And they think, I'm still the parent. I'm in the parent. Noel, I'm so sorry you're in the hospital. I hope you or your family member is going to recuperate and get home to your surroundings soon. And so it really does help us to understand there are red flags, there are warnings, right? And if we don't tune into those warnings, like withdrawing from social activities, like losing interest in your hobbies, then that's something that we need to pay attention to. What about the sleep patterns, right? What about the sleep patterns? We all know we get on average about 6 hours of sleep a night. We need 8 hours of sleep in addition to eating right. But when you see someone who is chronically up in the middle of the night, you up until 3 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's not just men that need to get dragged to the doctors. It's those stubborn ones. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. We all, sometimes we feel like we're strong. And if we're used to being, and caregivers, y'all know this, you're used to being a strong one. You're the one taking care of other people. Parents, you know this. You're the one taking care of your children. So you don't need, when it's time for you, you don't want, I'll take care of it. I got it. Sometimes you need to let your guard down and be vulnerable and go ahead and get yourself some care. And then sometimes you need to have those open, frank conversations with the person who needs care and say, hey, look, I know you can handle it. I know you got it. But let me go ahead and try to help you with this. Let me help you with some chores around the house. Let me make some phone calls for you. Let me get you to your doctor's appointments and let's see what's going on. Because maybe it's something that can be prevented. Good morning. Happy Wednesday to everybody. Thank you guys for hopping on. We're talking about some red flags that we want to pay attention to. We're only going to talk about a few more, and then I'm going to talk about some more either on another live or we're going to talk about it. I'll post the video so you guys will know some other things that you want to pay attention to when it comes to, whether or not a person needs to receive care and ask for help. You're right, Belinda. Sometimes it's hard to ask for help, especially when it comes to health issues. And sometimes, frankly, we don't want people in our business. We don't want people in our business, right? We still very much are. In fact, that's my business, right? Just like I talked about before, my important papers. Don't get in my business. Don't ask me what I'm going through. Just, if I need you, I'll call you. But then there are times when you actually need the help. Sometimes you actually need someone to shout out and say, I need some help. I need someone to pay attention to what I'm going through. And that is not, right, something that's easy for a lot of people to do. So we talked about the changing in sleeping patterns. So if you notice someone who needs care and all of a sudden if that's true about our business, right? Stay out of my business, right? That's mine. And so one of the things also, if now there's a gnat in here, I don't know what's going on. He wanted to go live too. So y'all say hello to the gnat flying around. Now, so one of the things, the sleeping patterns, if a person is up in the middle of the night and they are up all during the day, passing out during the day, later in the day, coming in late, just off their sleeping pattern. That's also another red flag because sometimes when you lay down, you feel sick. When you lay down, you don't feel good. Yeah, to pull yourself out of that hole, you got to ask for help. Yell it out that you need help, right? And so sometimes when you are dealing with someone who needs care and you are in the home with them, look at their sleep patterns. Now I know people who are retired and just looking at people who are, out of the workforce and they're home, your sleeping patterns going to change anyway. Because once you settle into retirement, you get comfortable. I don't have to rush and be anywhere. I done spent years of getting up at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning to get to work. And now I'm just going to ease into my day. A lot of people who are, a lot of people who are retired, they got their own sleep patterns. But if you notice that person is off, and if they're not feeling well because they can't sleep, because of their sleep pattern being off, that's a red flag, right? Yeah. Oh, Belinda used to wake up at 9. You know, older people, they up early. And I must be getting older because I be up at 4 in the morning. But sometimes, sometimes you notice that they're shuffling around too much. You ask them certain peering questions without getting in their business, you know, depending on what they're allowing you to ask. You might ask them questions like, you know, I noticed you've been up a lot. Are you sleeping well? No. You know, my hip hurt. I can't breathe when I lay down. You know, when I lay down in my body, I'm not resting. I'm aching all over. And so those are some of the red flags that you want to, you know, really, really, really hone in on. What about the conversation? What is it about the conversation that may change? And have you thought about that? And so if you're talking to someone who was usually upbeat, they usually are, like I said before, very extroverted, very much so wanting to be engaged in a part of life, reaching out to people to have conversations. They are the people checking on other people. Here's another red flag. The conversation, the topics change. You're talking about death a lot more. You're talking about the ailments and how bad you hurt a lot more. You're trying to put things in place. This is what I want done if this happens. Those conversation topics you're going to have, yeah, they start turning into emotional ones, right? What would you do if I was no longer here? Have you heard that before? Have you heard it? You know, have you heard those kind of, oh my goodness. Good morning, everybody. If I didn't say good morning to you already, I apologize. Good morning to you guys. If you hear those conversations, I want to tell you about this because you know what? And sometimes they say it jokingly. I ain't going to be around much longer. Those are warning signs. Now, sometimes we talk about it in general because we need to have those conversations. In my former live, on Monday, and I also put a video out, we do need to have those tough conversations, but those conversations are becoming more frequent. They're more in depth and intense with what needs to be done, right? Yeah, you've heard that before, right? They're hurting. They don't want you to know they're hurting, but they're trying to prep you for what may happen. That's a red flag. This is when sometimes I know with my dad, and I didn't do this often because, you know, that man could put me in my place. And yeah, grown woman, he telling me, yeah. So anyway, I had to be careful how I did it. But sometimes I would just do it. Sometimes I would just surprise him and come in and try to help, right? That's what we need to do. But I also pay attention to those warning red flags because, you know, it is so pertinent that we catch those things so we have those tough conversations and relieve some of the pain that we have. I'm laughing, Wayne. You're so funny. Trust me, I'm simply just a woman. I don't know about the look. Somebody told me on the last live I had an unfortunate head and that I needed to go get my hair done or something like that. So, you know, it's truly depending on what you see. Trust me. So, Belinda, you tried asking your grandmother what she wanted to get buried. We both started crying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is a hard conversation. I did drop this, and this is, you know, like the shameless plug again. But when you need to prep each yourself and the person you're receiving or giving care to, I did drop this in my Etsy store. This is assisting with final arrangements because I'm going to tell you something. Even our loved ones, even the persons receiving care should have a say if they can and what they want as far as their plans. So if you start hearing those conversations a lot more, if you start interacting with them and you notice, even like my grandmother used to say, a lot of truthful words are said in a joke. So when people joke with me, I try to pick out if it's still the truth. You know, it's unexpected, but it's always important, right, Belinda, to accept that that's how it is and to start the healing process and also to have those tough conversations. I've had them with my children. I'm not anticipating going anywhere soon, but I've had those with my husband, you know, because we need to be open and we need to express to each other what we want if we're able. And so that's why it's so important to look for those subtle changes in the person's conversation, in their social activities, whether or not they lose their, you know, their habits, their sleeping patterns. We're just recapping really quick, right, about some of the things to look for. One of the things and one of the things I wrote down too, now this was not my dad, but I'm gonna throw that out because I talked to other caregivers and they mentioned that too. If the person's hygiene has changed, okay? This person used to be crisp, sharp, right? They always, you ever met, and I'm just using my dad as an example, but my mom was like this too. You ever met a person and they smell good, they sharp all the time? I mean, wow, right? Dressed to the nine, you looking and smell, got that haircut, hair done, you looking real good. And then you notice as they get older, they just seem to let it go. They just really don't care about their hygiene anymore, right? They're going through so much pain, they're so sick, and they may not be letting you know that that's a warning sign, right? That's a red flag you want to pay attention to. Get them some help because something's going on. So, yeah, it's like they give up. They stop caring. So maybe that's a better way of saying they just simply stop caring. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to care, right? That doesn't mean that you give up. You pick that up with your uncle, yeah. You start to see subtle changes. And so sometimes we wait for a composite picture, right? It's several things all at once that we start to see. Because maybe the first one don't get you. Maybe the second one doesn't get you because everybody, as we get older, we do change our routine. We change our sleeping habits. We may change what we're interested in. But when it's a composite sign, I got several things going on all at once, you know, that is what is a warning sign. You're a nurse. Hats off to you, Wayne. I wanted to be a nurse. I'm not even going to talk about what happened with that story. I actually signed up for the course and everything. And let's just say I realized it wasn't the best course for me after a while. So I take my hats off to you because you nurses, y'all put it down. You hold it down and you deal with the difficult patients, right? And so you guys keep it up, especially what we went through with the pandemic. You guys have held it down. Everybody give Wayne a hats off because I'm telling you, these nurses work hard and they don't play and they hold true. And I know nurses that have hurt themselves on the job that are in pain that will still go to work. So you guys are fabulous. And so you didn't do much, Belinda, when I should have, but it's what it was. Yeah, you can't live in the past. You will beat yourself up if you continue to live in the past and think about what you didn't do. Okay? So you guys keep it moving, keep going, provide care now if you can. Don't live in the past because when we live in the past, we dwell in pain sometimes, and you don't want to do that. Right? You definitely don't want to do that. Let's talk about also the mental changes, right? Some of the things that I notice, you're forgetting. You're forgetting pertinent things that you never used to forget before. You are starting to slack off on things because you can't comprehend, or you see that in the person. You're not comprehending like you used to, right? You used to be sharp. And now I'm going to tell you, as you get older, you are going to forget things, right? I call my kids, I have 5, and I call the first one by the third one's name. I can't look, okay? You remember when your grandparents used to do that? All of my cousins, we would be around my grandmother, and all of a sudden she got to go through 4 people's names before she get to mine. But she's looking right at me. Okay, so that happens. We're used to it. I find myself doing that now, to be honest with you. However, what you start to notice is it not just I can't remember your name, but it's also forgetting pertinent things, forgetting to do certain things that are something that they customarily handle. We're forgetting to pay bills, right? We're forgetting where we are. My dad would go out and he forgot, he actually got lost coming home from his doctor's appointment. And it's probably about 10 minutes away. A route that he was so customarily used to taking, he actually would forget how to get home. And he called my mom at that time in a panic. Where am I? I don't remember where I am. I don't know how to get home. Everything was lost and confusing to him. Red flag, red flag, red flag. Warning signs composite with other things that were going on that helped us to realize that sometimes, you need to become more engaged in people's lives and find out what's going on. Now, I know we said that we talk about home safety, but we've talked about the red flags so long, and I only wanted to do a half an hour. You guys are awesome. You nurses, you caregivers, you people who are picking up and taking on the baton to make sure that people in your lives and surrounding you are fine. You all are absolutely fabulous. I'm right here with you. These past couple of days have not been good, right? I go by my mom's mood to see how she's doing. She has not been, some of these things that we discussed, she's going through right now. She's going through right now. Hello and good morning, Nicholas. Your dad is experiencing that lifting. It lifted. It is something that they go through. Those are red flags. So I'm telling you, I've had my good days. I've had my bad days. These last 3 days have been rough. How it will be today will be determined based on her mood. But what I don't do, and here's what I will leave you with: we don't take it personally. We empathize, right? Because we know that these are not the people in their right frame of mind and their health. My goodness, they were something to behold, right? And so as they get older, as they start to deal with health challenges in the aging process, you know, this is what we're going to have. I walked in the room, she snapped my neck off. And that's normally not her. So I backed away. I gave her what she needed. I tiptoed back out the door. And I gave my kids a heads up. Look, G might not feeling good today. I'm just giving you a warning. I put it in a family chat, right? Because I have a family chat. I put it in a family chat and I say she not having a good day. Y'all, make sure y'all are okay. But yes, I had to tiptoe out the back. So sometimes they're having days like that. She's getting a little bit better. I'm able to talk to her, and now she's coming down a little bit. But that's life, boo. And I'm all for it because you hold it down for the people you love. Caregivers, that is your superpower. Keep moving. I'll be back on next Monday. We're going to talk about the weekend, how you guys are doing. I'm getting on in age too, Lisa. Yeah, we're going to make sure that all our bases are covered. That's where we're going to leave. Your superpower is to continue to give care. Get it through this weekend. Those on the East Coast here in the U.S., stay out of the heat because you don't want to get sick. And remember, your girl, Essie, we right here with each other. I'll be dropping videos and dropping chats in the community. So join the community if you haven't. Make sure that you go on. And if you are starting to give care, don't forget to go on my Etsy store and get the caregiver's guide. There's 3 lists to start the conversation, whether it be about financial arrangements, whether it be about doctors or medicine appointments. Go ahead and get that. And then obviously the whole making final arrangements. Peace and blessings to you all as well. You guys are fabulous. This is your girl Essie. I'm out.